Excellent. All right. Would you be willing to call roll, please, Justin?
Happy to. Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Hall. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. Carrie Akimi Hernandez, Lisa Marie Alvarado,
Present.
Ana Gonzalez, Gloria Huerta,
Present.
Andres Ramirez,
Present.
Michelle Rousey, Pualani Vasquez, Pualani Vasquez,
Present.
Chair Randy Torres Van Vleck,
Present.
Martha Armis Kelly. Chair, with that, we do have quorum.
Fantastic. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that. And good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're excited to see you here today for the ad hoc subcommittee on community engagement policies and practices, subcommittee of the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee, which advises the California Transportation Commission, Caltrans, and CalSTA. So thank you for being here. We'll go ahead and move to item 2, which is a land acknowledgement. Thank you, staff, for preparing this, and invite anyone else to share their land acknowledgement if they wish to. But good morning. I'm joining remotely from Kumeyaay Land, which is also known as San Diego in Southern California. And we acknowledge that the land that we now call California is the ancestral lands of the over 109 nations, tribes, and peoples. The indigenous peoples of this area have a deep reciprocal relationship with the land as its original stewards. Their ways, methods, and traditions have contributed to California's rich biodiversity and have impacted the transportation network for the state. We stand with the indigenous communities and are committed to partnering and advocating for a more equitable and sustainable future. Our transportation network not only connects us to families, friends, work, and leisure, it connects us to our past and our future. We embrace our past with a future commitment to inclusiveness and equity for everyone who calls the state home. Are there any members who would wish to share a land acknowledgement or anywhere else in California? All right, hearing none, we can move to tab 3, which is public comment on non-agenda items. Clerk, do we have anyone from the public wishing to make comment on items that are not on the agenda?
Not seeing any requests at this time to provide public comment.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to tab 4, which is adoption of the August 2025 meeting minutes, which you can find in the agenda, hyperlinked in the agenda. Thank you, Justin, for sharing those. Would any committee member like to make a motion to adopt those meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Gloria, was that you,
Yes.
member Huerta? Okay, seeing a motion from member Huerta. Do we need a second, clerk?
Yes, we'll need a second.
I'll second that. This is member Ramirez.
Great,
Thank you, member Ramirez, for a second.
All right, with that, I'll call the roll. Carrie Akimi Hernandez, Lisa Marie Alvarado,
Approve.
Ana Gonzalez, Gloria Huerta,
Aye.
Andres Ramirez,
Aye.
Michelle Rousey, Pualani Vasquez, Member Pualani Vasquez, Chair Randy Torres Van Vleck,
Aye.
and then try Member Vasquez one more time. Pualani Vasquez, do you vote aye on this motion? Not seeing or hearing anything from Member Vasquez at this time. Member
Okay.
Vasquez, I see you've unmuted yourself, but if you're speaking, we can't hear you at the moment. I did see you unmute yourself momentarily, but I did not hear anything. If you'd like, you can provide your response in the chat. Oh, well, if we have that available, that might be turned off. It is. Not seeing or hearing anything from Member Vasquez. That would not meet the minimum threshold for approving the item.
Oh, okay. Can we come back to that item?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It looks like Member Vasquez logged off. So maybe they'll try logging back on. Okay, we could return to that item at the end of the meeting. If that works, clerk.
Yes, that'll
Thanks
do.
for your
Thank you.
patience, everyone. All right, excited to introduce this next item. Tab 5, which is update on the Caltrans statewide engagement playbook. And we're joined by Sarah Rosen from Caltrans. I'll go ahead and pass it to you, Sarah, to present this item. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Good to see you. Thanks for having me. I just put in a request to share. Oh, here we go. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. Good morning. My name is Sarah Rosen at Caltrans, and I've been to this group a few times, and I appreciate your time and input. I use she/her pronouns. I'm wearing a brown shirt, and I'm here to give you an update on the statewide community engagement playbook and an open survey we are sharing this month. So I also wanted to say thank you for your time and input that you provided to us back in June and August when we last discussed the playbook. So just to recap, as many of you know, the playbook is a major tool we've been working on for the Caltrans engagement program. And the image on the slide shows the cover of that document. And it's been a few months since we last touched base with you. So just to provide a reminder of what the playbook will hopefully accomplish is provide an overall framework for engagement processes. It will also include best practices and resources for staff, to reference with specific information for the project phases. And it will also discuss building working relationships with different groups. And additionally, the statewide playbook will serve as the guide for future district playbooks. So based on the statewide playbook, each district will create a district community engagement playbook to inform district staff of procedures for local engagement related needs for plans and projects. And so on this new slide, there's a couple images of Caltrans engagement events. And just to briefly walk through the statewide playbook, chapters 1 discusses why engagement matters and reinforces Caltrans' commitment to equity and transparency. Chapter 2 defines right-sizing engagement and introduces the spectrum of engagement at Caltrans. Chapter 3 discusses the strategies and processes for engagement from planning through project delivery. And then jumping to chapter 5, that goes through the tools, so like the Caltrans engagement portal that you all are familiar with, the public engagement plan template and guide, and how to use those tools in the process. And then chapter 8 talks about roles and responsibilities for engagement. And chapter 7 talks about instructions for districts to create their own district playbooks. But chapter 4 is really what we're touching on today, is that chapter of how we work together, really the heart of the playbook and why we have the survey out and we've been seeking feedback. And as a reminder, this chapter is split into 2 parts. The first part is talking about recognizing different groups may require different kinds of engagement. So our transportation partners, such as local jurisdictions, regional agencies, transit agencies, also California Native American tribes, the media, elected officials, community-based organizations, also engagement considerations such as ADA, Title VI, limited English proficiency, equity, age. And then the second part of the chapter discusses selecting methods of engagement based on the communities we're trying to reach. So this part talks about the virtual, in-person, hybrid, as well as engaging people where they are, such as existing events or locations that people regularly congregate, like parks, schools. So the feedback that we received from this group during the brainstorm session in June and our document review in August will be incorporated into the final playbook to be released later this year. And to briefly recap our sessions this summer, in June, we heard from the subcommittee about who to reach, and some of your feedback included different types of community groups, coalitions, community services, to name a few. And then we also talked about what should Caltrans know about engaging these groups. And some of the feedback we received was being informed before engaging, speaking in layman's terms, leveraging community contacts, and the importance of follow-up. We also talked about the methods and platforms, and some of the highlights of that discussion included using multiple methods, creating safe space, and going to community spaces. And then in August, we walked through the Chapter 4 document, and some of the feedback during this discussion included building strong partnerships, so emphasized outreach to diverse groups, including independent living centers, California Native American tribes, community-based organizations, historically affected communities, and ensure that the engagement that is happening is meaningful and early and not just a check the box exercise. We also talked about equity and accessibility, address Title VI, ADA, limited English proficiency, and age, and also being aware of federal changes that are impacting accessibility and community living. Also, your feedback during this walkthrough included talking about the engagement methods and some of the places where people congregate. We talked about community centers, libraries, open streets events, and we also talked about using visuals or hands-on activities to make complex transportation projects understandable, and also recognizing there is a digital divide. And one of the final major topics we discussed in our August session was defining meaningful engagement. That engagement should empower communities, it should influence decisions, and it must include a feedback loop. And we also talked about leveraging past focus group insight to avoid duplication. So thank you so much for all the great discussion we had a few months back. And so as I shared in August, this is a brief snapshot of the playbook timeline. So as this tool is intended for internal use, we first began with that internal input. And then we had great discussions with this subcommittee last summer to expand on chapters 1 and 4, which will be incorporated in the final document. And now we're opening input up to a larger audience of subject matter experts to provide input via an online survey. So we've sent this survey to a sampling of transportation partners in local jurisdictions, tribal partners, and some statewide community-based organizations. And the intent of this strategy is to gather feedback from our partners and community-based organizations who regularly work with Caltrans to reach communities on our plans and projects. And this survey information will be analyzed and incorporated into the final statewide playbook that we hope to publish externally later this year. So in late spring or early summer, we plan to present back to this committee your feedback, as well as the external feedback of what we're able to implement into the statewide playbook. So the EAC received an email with the survey link on January 9th. So thank you to those of you who have completed the survey. We are seeking input from the full EAC to help improve this guidance. And we really value the feedback that we've received so far. So if you have any additional thoughts or missed contributing during the previous discussions, we encourage you to take the survey, and also encourage you to please share the survey with your networks to reach a broader audience. And this survey is open until February 11th. And so just also keep in mind that the survey is not intended to address project-specific matters, so individual questions may not be answered through the survey. But even if we can't implement every idea, the input we receive helps us build better tools and more informed processes. Also at this time, if I have time, I would like to just take a moment to capture any additional feedback you may want to share now that you maybe weren't able to share prior, or if you have any questions.
Sarah, what kind of have you got a good response on the survey so far?
We've had a handful of responses across the state, from local jurisdictions, some metropolitan planning organizations, and a few community-based organizations. But we're hoping to receive some more survey responses. We do plan to send another email out, reminder. But yeah, we do, if you would like, if you have the bandwidth to share with any of your networks, we appreciate that as well.
Okay. Um, yeah, could you send another email to the full EAC so we can all have that at the top of our inbox and we could forward it along to different partners, please?
Yes, most certainly.
And the Caltrans team forward this to different advocate groups in the state, right? I remember that was something we discussed.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And
When
Sarah,
when did
oh,
when was that sent out? Oh, go ahead.
no, I apologize, Randy. I'll wait until you're done.
No, remember, it's okay. Go ahead, Member Vasquez. I'm glad you can
Um,
rejoin.
Sorry about that. Sarah, can you email us also maybe with a little template of what you just said about not, answering specific questions so that when we reach out to our network, we kind of have the verbiage that you just said.
Okay, yeah. I can make sure that's included in the email. And also on the survey, there is a note saying, that not specific project questions may not be answered. It's on the main survey page. I don't have that pulled up, but yeah. And I'm also, if any of you all have any questions after this, happy to connect. I'll put my email on this. Happy to connect offline as well if you have any additional feedback that maybe you weren't able to share in our previous sessions, or any specific engagement processes you think Caltrans should know about. Happy to further discuss.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee members? Since we're on the topic of the statewide engagement playbook, and you mentioned that the district's creating a similar one, are there any updates on the the formation of the local EACs at the district level that you'd be willing to share?
I don't know if maybe Tatsuko has more information about the district EACs. In terms of the district playbooks, the districts just this month received their templates. So they're just in the very initial phases of kind of working through their work groups and very beginning phases. So in terms of like getting feedback on district playbooks, I would imagine that wouldn't begin until probably 2027. In terms of the district EAC formations, I'm not sure if anyone else from ETA could answer that question on the call.
Sure. This is Tatsuko. Hi, all. Randy, can you say a little bit more about what you're looking for now that Sarah's clarified the difference between the playbook and the local advisory bodies?
Yeah, no, I was just curious if there's a relationship between when the districts are planning to create their own playbooks and and when they plan to create their local EAC advisory groups.
Okay. Yeah, so they are separate. The
Okay.
advisory groups are through the People and Community First Action Plan.
Okay.
And only one district, I believe, opted to create that advisory board. And as you know, that is your district, District 11.
Oh, well,
Um,
okay.
for under that 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 plan structure. That doesn't mean that districts can't or won't, other districts can't or won't form advisory bodies. So that's going to be kind of an ongoing conversation through this coming year about what that could look like. But as far as that formal structure through our People and Community First Action Plan, it's D11.
Oh, okay. I'll have to thank the San Diego Perry County leadership for that. Um, and maybe we could have a separate item about that in the future. But yeah, curious about and thank you, Tatsuka, for that response in that context. Um, yeah, so it sounds like the headquarters will send the template. Have the districts received the template?
So feel free others to jump in. My understanding is there isn't a template because it's largely, we want to leave it largely up to the districts.
Okay.
But we are here to support. As formation happens and there are lessons learned and we're able to document down the line, the hope is that we can provide some of those kind of lessons learned and guidance documents to other districts who may become interested.
Okay. Yeah, and it's possible they might not need their own playbook when they have the statewide playbook to utilize, right? I assume that's the intent.
And yeah, I think, sorry, this is Alexis Lance, just clarifying that we do have a template for the district playbooks. We do not yet have a template for how to establish an advisory committee, like an equity advisory committee at the district level. So just wanted to clarify, Tatsuko was responding in relation to the
Okay.
district EACs, but the template for the district playbooks has been distributed to all of the districts as of this month.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I just,
Thanks,
oh, go
Sarah.
ahead.
No, that's um any other questions from committee members? Or sorry, did you want to share more? Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to show what the survey looks like so you're familiar when you pull it up, and some information background on this main page here and the date that the survey closes, and then the survey questions on the right here. And yeah, in terms of the district playbooks, it is a tool for customization. So hopefully the statewide is capturing, these major processes, but the district templates are really there for districts to customize district specific processes that we really can't say on a statewide basis.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, like, how would they be different? The district playbooks be different than the headquarter ones?
I think there's a lot of district nuances, even roles can be different in districts. For example, like District 11, like yours, is a pretty big district, a lot of city and rural components. Whereas there are other districts like District 9 in Bishop that is essentially completely a rural district. And so there's just different ways things are done. And also the staff capacity is kind of spread out differently in these smaller districts versus larger districts.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right. If any committee members would like to speak, let me know. Otherwise, I'll move to ask Justin if there are any members of the public who wish to comment on this.
Chair, I'm not seeing any request at this time to comment on the item.
All right. Thank you, Sarah and team, for your leadership on this. Is really exciting, and appreciate the timeline. Yeah, so it looks like published statewide playbook late 2026. So looking forward to that. And yeah, also looking forward to the email about the survey so we can help disseminate that. And it sounds like yeah, deadline's February 3rd. 11th to get more stakeholders to participate. So we can help forward that along.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks all for your time and input. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Our pleasure. All right. Let's plan to move on to tab 6. Tab 6 is guidance for engaging with the disability community, discussion and resource development. Our presenters are our presenter is Cassidy Ellis from the Caltrans Advancing Community Engagement Office. Welcome, Cassidy.
Hello. Hi. My name is Cassidy Ellis. I work in the Office of Advancing Community Engagement. I'm wearing glasses and I'm wearing a blue shirt. Thank you, Tatsuko. So just to give you guys a little bit of a refresh on what this effort is, the purpose is that we are trying to provide guidance on engaging with the disability community, and to help engagement be more inclusive and reach more individuals from the disability community. So we did talk about this topic at the last engagement subcommittee meeting, and we discussed the following 4 questions. 1, what's the first thing people should know about engaging with the disability community? And you all had wonderful things to add there. Question number 2, do you know of resources that could be used to educate staff about engaging people with disabilities? Or are there specific resources that you use? Question 3, which organizations can help and who else should we be connecting with? And then question number 4, what do we want to avoid? So we took down some great notes from those discussion questions, and I just wanted to give you kind of like a recap on what we heard from that discussion. So we heard there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. ADA compliance doesn't meet all the needs. Disability leaders that understand community needs and transportation would be a good resource for outreach. This would help us get more input from disability communities. We also heard, sorry, there's an interruption at my door. What? Sorry about that. So where was I? We also heard when we have access to things we don't necessarily understand, the complexities people are living with. Sorry, I read that wrong. When we do have access to things, we don't necessarily understand the complexities people are living with. So I conduct community walk audits. This was from a commenter in the last subcommittee meeting. It's a great tool to get us to understand the complexities of transportation and identify gaps. And then we also heard we need to move away from the status quo and old school roadway engineering ways of doing things. Roads are designed to move traffic from point A to point B at the detriment of moving everything else, including people. And lastly, I put this in here because of all of your guys' input. We have a great list of various national and statewide organizations who are experts on disability awareness, policies, and resources. So I feel like our last meeting was very productive. we'll continue on down. Since the last time we've met with some internal staff who have work in different areas of Caltrans. So we first met with the Caltrans Deputy Director of Civil Rights and staff from the ADA Infrastructure Branch. They provided us with a different perspective on how Caltrans coordinates on ADA compliance on our transportation projects. They're not very focused on community engagement or that kind of side of things. So I think it is still an area that we were interested in collaborating more on, but it really didn't fit with the effort that we were trying to accomplish with this project. So kind of a something to work on in the future. And then we also met with Caltrans Equal Employment Opportunity Program. And even though they mostly focus on internal, like making sure that our employees have everything they need to do their job and are not being discriminated against, they did also provide us with guides and training that would be helpful for Caltrans staff when engaging with external partners. So I think in this area, it was kind of a situation where our organization is so large that we really didn't know the resources that we had available to us. So after our meeting with EEOP, I kind of had to reorganize this effort and see how we could fit all of these resources in a way that would be useful and accessible to all Caltrans employees. So that led me to our Equitable Engagement Toolbox. It's a website that only Caltrans staff has access to, and it's a collection of tools, resources, and trainings specifically for conducting equitable engagement. If I could just share my screen for a moment. Can you see the Equitable Engagement Toolbox website?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is where we direct staff if they want to learn more about how to conduct engagement. You can find Sarah Rosen's Caltrans Engagement Playbook in here, public engagement plan examples. But the area that I'm most interested in adding these resources to is our engagement tools and resources page. So we have things like best practices, in-person engagement materials, and online tools. There's also a self-study training section where we hope to add something to the on-demand learning area. Okay, and that's really all I wanted to share about our Equitable Engagement Toolbox. Can we go back to presenting the Word document? Good stop sharing. Okay, and then can you scroll back up to the top of these tables? Yes, here. Okay, so EEOP has shared with us their accessibility quick guide. It's a Word document that summarizes all of the best tips for sending out emails and documents for accessibility. They recommend it to be used for all staff emails and documents, and also emails and documents that would be sent out to the public. And then the Caltrans guidelines for complex documents that cannot be made accessible. That document we already had listed on the webpage. And then scrolling down just a bit, EOP also provided us with the Planning Accessible Public Meetings website from the Department of Rehabilitation. So this would be under the category of best practices for making public meetings accessible. And then lastly, in this section, just up one more, thanks. We're hoping to add a new document that would cover the best practices for working with a translator. This new document would include pausing between topics, and then also providing materials ahead of time. And then scrolling down again. In the online tools section, we would have an area for interpretation and translation. Right now, limited English proficiency translation is kind of separate from American Sign Language and Braille translation. So putting these two Caltrans resources together in the same spot will hopefully help people find what they need. And also, as was mentioned in the last subcommittee meeting, we are planning to include the AARP Walk Audit Toolkit with the guide and worksheets. And in the last section, the on-demand learning area would include disability awareness etiquette trainings and guides. EOP has their own training and supplemental guide. Also, the Department of Rehabilitation has an awareness and etiquette training. But if staff members really don't have the time to go through a whole training on top of the mandated training that's we already do about, I think, every 2 years, then there's also the disability etiquette tips. Maybe they might want to review these etiquette tips ahead of a public meeting as a refresher. And then one thing that we just came across during our research was these pointers titled "When You Meet a Blind Person." They're just simple pointers, things that may seem kind of obvious to some, or things that may be, as noted earlier, if you have access to things, you may not realize what somebody who doesn't have access is going through. Okay, and then any questions about this website update?
Maybe not a question, but perhaps a consideration is, I love all the effort that we're putting into sharing what's valuable for our disabled community. And I love that it's evolved now into like an equity roadmap, because I can see how that can just be added anywhere. But I'm wondering, is the power and piece, right? Because how many of your colleagues are going to go on their free time to scroll other than engaging somebody with limited disability, right? So I think the purpose is to prepare people before they engage, right? Because in my experience, disability justice opened my eyes to broader things, right? And that's what we're talking about across multiple lines, right? Where we saw that live example at the last equity meeting where the gentleman was in a wheelchair and also in a person of color and also living in a poverty zip code. So it was like we saw tiered. So curious at how you're considering sharing what you're learning, and how are you pod mapping, or how are you thinking this in this visioning sense of like, where does this grow from here, or does it just land in the box and then we send an email to staff saying we've updated our playbook, make sure to know that the resources are constantly being updated.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question, because I think that was also something on our minds is, how do we change the status quo? That was a topic of conversation last time. And, these are a lot of resources that already exist. So how is that really changing Caltrans staff procedures? I think an area that could help in this challenge is our community engagement coordinators. They are, right now, there's only really one in each district, and they collaborate with the project development team on creating a public engagement plan for construction projects and plans. And our hope is that they can be that subject matter expert to say, hey, this is the best approach. Make sure to review that the meeting locations are accessible, make sure that we're reviewing our best practices. But since there's only one in each district, their capacity is limited. If there are, I don't even know how many projects there might be in a single district. So I do think that is a small step forward, but definitely more can be done to make sure that there's a consistent use of these best practices.
I appreciate your honesty. I'm going to keep thinking.
This is Alexis. I just want to build on what Cassidy shared as well. We do have, we are trying to integrate ourselves with various trainings that are offered, which more often are reaching newer employees. So we have a planning academy, there's a project manager academy. These are places where staff are being trained on Caltrans processes. And so we're working to integrate more training on engagement into those academies, which typically run a week long. And then, we have our own newsletter that we send out that go to all staff. So we're sharing resources through that, but we can do more around sending out regular updates. Hey, like the toolbox has been updated. Here are the new tools that have been added, and letting staff know, especially the planning and project delivery staff, know that there's resources here, and constantly reminding them to check back in. So I think that's a great suggestion, Lisa, on making sure we're regularly updating staff when we're adding new resources.
Thank you, Member Alvarado, for the question, and staff for sharing that feedback. Member Rousey.
Sorry, I'm late, guys. I'm wondering whether, and I know I'm coming in late on this today, but I'm wondering if a general disability awareness is needed also. I love what you've added, and I think it's a good resource, but as was mentioned by another member, I think where is this going to land? Where in this is people's awareness of people with disabilities going to hit, and how can we make it universal throughout all the disability coordinators and things like that, so that their awareness of this and their responsibilities under it come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rousey. Yeah, I do think we could possibly, I'm trying to think, our office sometimes conducts what we call a roadshow, where we attend several staff meetings and present our resources to them. I think it's probably, if we do all these updates to our internet website, then at that time, it would be great to conduct another round of roadshow presentations to share with all the Caltrans staff, like, hey, look, remember this website? Please use it, and please know that there are great resources in here that everyone can use. Sometimes these kinds of reminders are helpful. Staff can get kind of stuck in their daily routines, and having somebody remind them, hey, it's good to look out and see what else is out there. Because like I said earlier, Caltrans is such a large organization, it's easy to forget what we already have available to us.
I'm wondering, this is Michelle Rouse again. I'm wondering how you can use this body as a resource and some of its members as people who understand this a little, probably better than a lot of people, that in your training that you could possibly use us as a resource, because I'd be happy to attend, if possible, attend and help with that training. I've done disability awareness training in different capacities for over 20 years. So I actually helped East Bay in the last year build their disability awareness program for their drivers and their staff. So I'm wondering, if you could actually use us as that, as a partnership to working with this.
Oh, yeah, I really like that idea. That I think we would need to collaborate with EEOP again. They are kind of the owners of our disability awareness training. And I will be definitely reaching out to them again. And I think we can just pass that idea on to them and say, hey, what if we, opened up our disability awareness training to people with disabilities from the public to comment on and review.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Michelle, thank you so much for that offer. We'll share that with the EEOP, and we also have our Caltrans Disability Advisory Committee, or CTDAC, that meets monthly. So that does get advertised to all staff and is a place where our staff with disabilities are working with EEOP and our organization to improve awareness internally on accessibility and disabilities. So yeah, I think it's a really great suggestion, and one we'll take back and share with our colleagues at EEOP. And I think one of our takeaways from doing this effort, to your questions and comments, Michelle, and Member Vasquez as well, was around making sure we're working across functions. And so I think that's been a big takeaway from us, is that there's folks working on accessibility in Office of Civil Rights at EEO. It's something we're looking at. There's also an ADA subject matter expert in the design side of our house. And so I think there's an opportunity to come together and work collaboratively across the department on these. And so we'll definitely share your generous offer with our staff who are working on training at different levels.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rousey. Appreciate that. Member Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. So I think that this is a great first step, and I know that there was a lot of hard work that was put into this, and I definitely want to give, congratulations to you guys for that. But we all know the challenges that we have in our transportation system. And the challenges that we are experiencing within our transportation system is because the system was built to experience these challenges. And these guides that we have, to have it rested on a hope that the people who are in charge of continuing on the plan to fix these challenges, I think is a misstep. And we all know the challenges that different municipalities have with embracing the Vision Zero and the safe system approach, and how hard we're all working to make sure all of these different entities are on the same page. And there definitely will be a challenge that there's only one person in each district to work on this community engagement, right? That's already a challenge. That's a huge challenge. And the second challenge is that there's silos in large organizations like Caltrans, right? So having a plan in place that puts a little more requirement, need, I don't know the exact word, into having people put this into their planning process to make sure that these community engagement people in each of the different districts are meeting on a continuous process, to always kind of keep that at the front of mind when planning is done.
Thank you, Member Vasquez. I think you're really hitting on the second discussion question that I had for this subcommittee meeting, which is what can we create to change the status quo? Possibly it could be something related to our engagement policy. It could be something that we change in a existing template for planning. I think there are a lot of areas where we can do some extra analysis to make sure that consideration of disability needs is incorporated into our plans and projects. But yeah, I think that is kind of the pinnacle of this effort is, it all kind of started when a Caltrans staff member came to us and said, how do I make sure that people from the disability community are engaging on this project and voicing their opinion, and how do we make sure that they're involved in this process? So that's where we started, and it's still something that we are trying to figure out how to solve, other than the normal routes of making sure that our engagement efforts are being advertised widely and often. I think it was something that someone said in a previous subcommittee meeting, that we need to know who in the community can be a champion or an expert for their community and for their community's needs. And I think that is an area where Caltrans does have kind of like a weak spot, is getting to know our community and building those relationships is definitely an area that we need to work on.
This is Michelle Rousey. Can I comment on that? I think reaching out to the disability community is complex, but I also think it's doable, and I think it's something that if you make an effort, you'll be met halfway. And meeting us where we're at in our communities is wonderful, but doing the outreach beforehand to disability agencies, community-based groups, and other things is going to be very important in doing that outreach. Our independent living centers, they all have transportation and or other resources that you guys can tap into to get a hold of people with disabilities, so that this work can be done in a comprehensive way that works for everybody.
Hi, this is Member Alvarado. I hear you on this, and I think what's activating is, one part educator, do we just keep training people, right? And then there's another part where it's like there's an immediate need and there's monies involved, meaning you can mandate certain things, right? So I think as a transportation rider, when I think of what needs to come first, I think of, can you put folks within the disabled community that have already been trying to connect with you within every district, because I know they exist? Can you put them, within their local bodies and start, creating some of these localized EACs to where maybe they're looking at these projects and maybe they're not able to like redline like an engineer would, but maybe they're able to say, hey, I ride Ben Maddox on my wheelchair because that sidewalk's broken. I sent an email in 2008. That's the reason why I'm on this committee. It would really benefit me if my mayor and my vice mayor and my county supervisor could see me. And the way that that would show up is if you put a permanent sidewalk here. And I had to, because what I'm realizing on the bus is within my localized disabled community, they are hyper competent in speaking to electeds via email and phone, but they are hyper neglected. And so culturally, that speaks to us in America, right? That also speaks to immigrants, that also speaks to people in poverty. So how can we embolden you, to like, I don't want to say enforce because that's not the right word, we're moving away from carceral things, but like, how can you invite that and say, we're going to continue to fail as administrators of transit if we do not prioritize this? And it needs to look in terms of a hierarchy because we're triaging this, thus meaning we've neglected this body. So now they're going to be number one. So I know it doesn't make sense population wise, but it makes sense when we're prioritizing equity. And I think that needs to happen. And then secondly is in terms of implementation, my organizer background is saying you need to do the work, which means I think you are the only person that we can trust that has the gusto to implement. So how can, we support you? And I love Member Rousey's suggestion about, just going there with you and standing in solidarity as you're giving, options to look at the guidebook. So there's something there to be discovered too that just feels rich, right? Because it's that brick by brick energy.
Thank you, Member Alvarado. I think you sparked an idea. So we will try to take all of these great ideas and really implement something that will address these kind of big questions that we're still having.
Thanks, Cassidy. Thank you, Member Alvarado. Appreciate the dialogue. Any other members of the committee wish to ask questions or make comment? Okay, Cassidy, was there anything else you'd like to share on next steps?
Yeah, I guess we could scroll down to the bottom of this page. This area is still kind of nebulous. It is trying to fill that gap, many of what you guys have already commented on, trying to get more concrete about changing the status quo. So this is really an area that just needs more work on our part. And I think all of your comments will be very helpful in trying to figure out what this next step will look like. Let's see. I think next steps for me will be to reach back out again to our internal Caltrans staff that are involved in this topic, but then also see if we can incorporate external partners as well, and get them integrated into our process somehow. And so I guess next steps is just continuing this work, and we will be back to you sometime in the future to hopefully present another update.
Okay. Thank you, Cassidy. We appreciate you leadership on this, and yeah, thanks again for all the committee members for their feedback, and yeah, looking forward to moving this forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Justin, clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
Chair, I'm not seeing any request at this time to comment on the item.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, we can now move into closing next steps. So our next community engagement subcommittee will take place in April. There'll be a survey out, a doodle poll to find the best date for that. Also, reminder to the staff reminded me to encourage the committee members, if you haven't yet, to fill out the end of the year survey. And if you could do so by January 26th, that'd be great. And to schedule member one-on-ones. Also, in regards to the minutes that we didn't get to vote on, we're going to have to vote on that the next meeting to advertise the correct date on that. So apologies for that, but we'll bring that to the next item, our next meeting. And our next EAC business meeting is March 4th in Sacramento and via webinar. So looking forward to seeing you then, if not sooner. Thank you everyone for joining. Great to see you all. Appreciate committee members, staff, interpreters. Thank you all.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.